Have you ever found yourself standing in the middle of a grocery store aisle, staring at 40 different types of olive oil, and suddenly feeling a strange, hollow sense of panic? It isn't about the oil, of course. It's that tiny, nagging voice in the back of your head asking, what do I actually want? And then, the more terrifying follow-up, do I even know what I want anymore? You might laugh it off, pick the one with the prettiest label and move on, but that feeling lingers. It's the same feeling you get when you've been scrolling through a streaming service for 45 minutes, unable to commit to a single movie, only to end up turning the TV off and staring at the wall in the dark. We live in an era where finding yourself is a multi-billion-dollar industry, yet more people than ever feel like they're living a life that was ghostwritten by someone else. We are the most connected and informed generation in history, but we're also the most profoundly disconnected from our own internal compass. If you feel like your desires have become a blurry, pixelated mess, I want you to know that you aren't broken. Your brain is actually doing exactly what it was designed to do in a world it wasn't designed for. To understand why your inner compass is spinning in circles, we have to talk about a concept that is as old as humanity but has been supercharged by the digital age. It's called mimetic desire. A French polymath named René Girard spent his life studying this, and his conclusion was both simple and world-altering. We don't actually know what to want on our own. Instead, we look at what other people want, and then we want it too. Think about it like this. You're at a party and there's a tray of appetizers. You might not even be hungry, but as soon as you see 3 people reach for the mini quiches, suddenly you feel a deep biological need for a mini quiche. We are social mimics. For most of human history, this was a survival mechanism. If the person next to you in the cave wanted that specific berry, it probably meant the berry wasn't poisonous. But today, the person next to you is everyone on the planet. When you open your phone, you aren't just seeing your neighbor's new car. You're seeing a curated, high-definition highlight reel of 1,000 different lifestyles. Your brain, which is still running on that ancient survival software, sees all these different berries and tries to want all of them at once. You want the high-powered career, but you also want the slow-living farm life in Tuscany. You want the shredded gym body, but you also want to be a gourmet food critic. Because we are constantly bombarded with what other people value, our own authentic desires get buried under a mountain of borrowed ones. We become a cover band of our own lives, playing everyone else's hits and forgetting how to write our own music.
This creates a kind of psychological static. When every voice in the world is screaming, look at this, want this, be this, your internal voice, that quiet, subtle intuition that tells you what actually makes you feel alive, gets drowned out. It's like trying to hear a flute solo in the middle of a construction site. Eventually, you stop even trying to listen. You just start following the loudest noise. And this leads us to the should monster. The should monster is that internal dialogue that replaces I want with I should. I should be more productive. I should like this kind of music. I should be interested in crypto or marathon running or sourdough starters. We spend so much energy performing these shoulds that we eventually lose the ability to distinguish them from our genuine impulses. It's a form of self-alienation. You might be incredibly successful by every external metric, but you feel like a stranger in your own skin because your successes aren't actually yours. They belong to the version of you that you thought you were supposed to be. But there's another layer to this, and it's a bit more neurological. Our brains are absolute dopamine junkies. In the wild, dopamine was a reward for discovery, finding a new water source or a patch of fruit. It's the seeking chemical. But in the modern world, the seeking never ends. Every time you swipe, click, or refresh, your brain gets a tiny hit of dopamine. The problem is that dopamine isn't about satisfaction, it's about anticipation. It's the itch, not the scratch. Because we are constantly in a state of seeking through our screens, we've trained our brains to value the next thing more than the current thing. We've become habituated to novelty. This is why you can buy exactly what you thought you wanted, that new phone, that pair of shoes, that promotion, and feel a rush of excitement that lasts about 11 minutes. Before the void opens up again. We've confused the hit of wanting something with the actual joy of having it. We've become like a dog chasing a car. We wouldn't even know what to do with the car if we caught it. We just know we have to keep running. When your brain is stuck in a perpetual dopamine loop, wanting becomes a frantic, twitchy reflex rather than a deep, soulful direction. And let's talk about the sheer weight of choice. We often think that freedom means having more options, but psychology tells us something different. There's There's a famous study involving jam. Yes, jam. Researchers set up a tasting booth at a grocery store. On one day, they offered 24 flavors. On another, they offered only 6. While the 24-flavor booth attracted more people, the 6-flavor booth resulted in significantly more sales. When we have too many choices, our brains experience analysis paralysis. We become so afraid of making the wrong choice, of missing out on the best possible option, that we end up making no choice at all, or making one half-heartedly, and then spending the rest of our time wondering if the other flavor would have been better. This is the fear of better options, or FOBO. In a world of infinite choices, from who we date to what we do for a living, we are constantly mourning the lives we didn't choose. It's hard to know what you want when you're haunted by the ghosts of 1,000 alternate versions of yourself. Every yes feels like a no to everything else, and that pressure is paralyzing. So how do we find our way back? How do we clear the static and hear that flute solo again? The first step is realizing that not knowing what you want isn't a failure. It's actually a sophisticated defense mechanism. Your brain is overwhelmed, and it's essentially gone into power-saving mode. It has stopped trying to navigate because the map has become too cluttered to read. To fix this, we have to embrace something that our modern world absolutely hates: boredom. We have become so afraid of being alone with our own thoughts that we fill every micro moment of silence with a screen. But silence is the only place where your true desires can actually breathe. Think of your mind like a muddy pond. If you keep stirring the water with your hands, checking emails, scrolling news, looking for inspiration, the mud stays suspended and the water stays cloudy. But if you just sit still, the mud eventually settles to the bottom. The water becomes clear. Only when the water is clear can you see what's actually at the bottom of the pond. We also have to learn to differentiate between flashlight desires and lighthouse desires. Flashlight desires are those sudden, intense bursts of wanting. The "I need that gadget right now," or "I need to look like that person" feelings. They are bright, they are distracting, and they burn out quickly. Lighthouse desires, on the other hand, are the steady, rhythmic pulses that have been there your whole life. They're the things you loved doing when you were 10 years old, before anyone told you what was cool or profitable. They are the topics you can't help but talk about, the activities where you lose all track of time, the things that make you feel like you, regardless of who is watching. Your lighthouse hasn't gone out, it's just been obscured by too many flashlights. To find it again, you have to stop looking for new things to want and start looking for the things you've always wanted but dismissed because they didn't seem important enough or productive enough. There's also a powerful psychological shift in moving from "what do I want?" to "what am I curious about?" What do I want is a heavy question. It feels permanent. It feels like a commitment. But curiosity is light. Curiosity is an experiment. If you don't know what you want, stop trying to find your passion and start following your breadcrumbs of interest. What's a book you'd actually read for fun? What's a skill you'd practice even if you were never going to get paid for it? By lowering the stakes, you allow your authentic self to come out and play without the pressure of having to achieve something. You give yourself permission to be a beginner again, and in that space of play, your true preferences start to emerge. They don't come out as a booming voice from the clouds. They come out as a subtle feeling of, "Oh, this feels right." I want you to consider the possibility that you actually do know what you want, but you've been socialized to believe that your desires aren't enough. We live in a culture that fetishizes more money, more followers, more productivity. If your true desire is something quiet, like having a small garden, being a present parent, or spending your Saturday mornings reading in a coffee shop, the should monster will tell you that's not a real desire. It will tell you that you're settling. But true fulfillment isn't about reaching the top of a mountain everyone else is climbing. It's about finding the valley where you actually want to live. Sometimes the reason you don't know what you want is that you're looking for something big and shiny, while your actual joy is something small and matte finish. It takes an incredible amount of courage to admit that you've lost your way, but that admission is actually the first step toward a much more honest life. You are peeling back the layers of the false self that you built to survive the noise of the world. It's a messy process. It's uncomfortable. You might feel a bit empty for a while as you let go of those borrowed desires, but that emptiness isn't a bad thing. It's space. It's a clearing in the woods where something new, something that is actually yours, can finally grow. You don't need to have it all figured out by tomorrow. You don't need a 5-year plan. You just need to start noticing the moments when you feel a little bit more like yourself,
yourself and a little bit less like a reflection of everyone else. If you're feeling that grocery store aisle panic today, I want you to take a deep breath. Put down the shoulds for a second. Turn off the noise. The version of you that knows exactly what it loves is still in there, waiting for the static to clear. It's not about finding a new you. It's about remembering the you that existed before the world told you who to be. So maybe this week, try to find one small thing that is just for you. Not for your career, not for your social media feed, not for your family. Just something that makes your inner light flicker a little brighter. Pay attention to that feeling. That's your compass, and it's finally starting to point home. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about a lighthouse desire you've rediscovered recently, or maybe just a should you're ready to let go of. We're all trying to find our way through the noise together, and sometimes just talking about it makes the path a little clearer. Thanks for being here, and for being willing to look a little deeper. I'll see you in the next one.